and welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. Now, a while back, I did an episode that I really gave a rant on the state of sci-fi movies nowadays, where it's just basically the same thing over and over, and it's not really creative or it's not really memorable like the sci-fi movies that I used to really love. And so with that being said, I actually just saw The Arrival with Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forest Whitaker. And wow, I gotta say, I was completely wrong about them not being really good sci-fi movies. And you know, it's still a rarity, but after seeing this, it really basically brought hope back to the fact that there could really be some still inventive, creative, and also memorable sci-fi movies that are more than just explosions and aliens. And you know, if you have ever seen that movie Contact, that was a wonderful movie, and I think it was directed by Robert Zemeckis, and that was really more of like a thinking type sci-fi movie. So it wasn't the standard aliens come, invade, and they just blow up stuff. You know, it was a lot more to it than that. And watching the movie The Arrival, it was a lot like that, where it's not about that. It's more about the messages underneath and really about humanity. So I'm going to do the best I can not to leave any spoilers. But let's go ahead and start with the things that I loved about this movie right from the beginning. So the first thing is, this movie is actually directed by the same person who did the movie Prisoners and more recently Sicario, which both got really high ratings. And the same goes for this movie, The Arrival. The very first thing that absolutely captured my attention with this movie was in the first 5 minutes of the movie, you are already invested in the characters. And you see what I mean when you watch the movie. You already care about the characters right from the beginning without knowing anything else. And there's really no dialogue at all in this very first few minutes of the movie. But with just those first few minutes, it does more to capture your attention and then also capture your interest in the characters more than most full-length movies. And that was pretty amazing. And right after that, I really got to say, from a technical standpoint, this movie is absolutely beautiful. Not only from the special effects, which were done so well, in the sense that, you know, I've always said this before, the best special effects are the ones that you don't really think about the special effects. And that's how this movie did it. And then when you see the spaceships for the first time over the clouds, and then when you actually get inside the spaceship, it is just a really awe-inspiring experience. It makes me think a lot about 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's really what it reminds me of. And then the other technical aspect that I love is the sound design. This thing had some amazing sound design, especially from the aliens, you know, the whole communication scene, you know, and you'll see that in the movie trailers itself. But when you're actually in the movie theater and with just a big screen, it just really takes you in. Now, after that, it's definitely the acting in this movie. Amy Adams, I really think this is definitely the best that she's ever done. There was a lot of depth to her. You know, you really saw it from her eyes. And at the same time, you really felt what she was feeling, which was really cool. Now, the second actor that I really enjoyed in this movie was Forest Whitaker. You know, he played a really, I would say a really tough character, because he was like a colonel, but at the same time, he wasn't the stereotypical colonel. He had ulterior motives for why he had to be the way that he was, and it makes sense to this movie. And then finally, we have Jeremy Renner, who is the scientist. You know, he's a physicist. And his role, I mean, it wasn't as, I would say, as strong as, say, like Amy Adams or Forest Whitaker, but it definitely served a purpose, and it definitely made sense to the story as well. And so Amy Adams being a linguist, you know, and if you're not a linguist, you know, the movie does a really good job of explaining to you what that means and why it's important to this particular story. And the last characters that I really want to talk about aren't even human at all. It's these aliens. And the thing is, you don't really see a lot of them. But once again, through the story, through the way the narrative is told, you get a sense of what they are feeling without even understanding what they're trying to convey, which is pretty hard to do. And it wasn't like your typical aliens, because this whole movie takes a really realistic approach, which is what I really love. And that's the same thing that I really liked about Contact, because if we really actually had aliens come down to this planet, all the things that are happening especially with what's going on with the military and the world, how people would react, what would happen to society. These are actually things that would realistically happen in real life if we actually had aliens touch down. And that is what really got me, because it really told a human story, which is kind of weird to say that, because it's really told from the human's perspective. How would humans react to this? How would humans deal with these emotions, and also your beliefs as well, whether they be religious, political. How would you deal with that as a human civilization? And that was just really what got me with this movie. And then when it delved into Amy Adams' story, and like how it ends up in the end, all of it pretty much makes sense. Some things, obviously, if you are not really into sci-fi or understand science and stuff, some of these things would not make sense. But that's not the whole point of the movie. It's not about the special effects or the scientific sci-fi elements of it. It's really about the human story. And that's pretty much the best way I could say that you would feel when watching The Arrival without giving too much away. And it really, really is an incredible experience. It's one of those types of movies that when you get out of the theater, you're still thinking about it, and you'll probably be thinking about it for a long time afterwards. So those are my thoughts on Arrival. Definitely one of the best sci-fi movies that I've seen. Maybe not in my top 10, but it's definitely up there. And definitely the best movie I've seen so far this year. So those are my thoughts on The Arrival. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. And if you haven't seen it, be sure to leave your comments and ideas below. Obviously, no spoilers. And as always, if you do like these videos, you got value out of them, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget, I am on Snapchat at Geek Outdoors.
Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com. And I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.